All right. Before we start tearing this mystery apart, I want to plant these questions in your mind. Don't look anything up. Don't try to solve them yet. Just let each question echo for a moment. Because by the end of this video, the way you see the Turkish town called Derinkuyu will not be the same. What if someone told you there's an entire city buried 280 feet underground, 18 floors deep, big enough to hide 20,000 people, and nobody knew it existed until a random guy knocked down a wall in his basement? What kind of threat was so terrifying that people chose to abandon the sun, the sky, and the surface world, and move their entire lives underground? How do you build an underground city with schools, churches, wine cellars, stables, and fresh running water, using only hand tools and sheer human will? No machines, no electricity, nothing. If this city was abandoned and completely forgotten for centuries, who decided to bury the entrance? And why does no ancient record mention it ever existed? And here's the one that'll keep you up at night. What if this isn't even the biggest one? What if there are more cities like this right now, still sealed underground, and we have absolutely no idea where they are? Every single one of those questions has an answer, and by the end of this video, you're going to have all of them. Let's go underground. So here's how this whole thing went down. It's 1963. Somewhere in a small Turkish town called Derinkuyu, a regular guy is doing what regular guys do. Renovating his house, knocking down walls, clearing out the basement. He swings his sledgehammer. The wall cracks, and instead of finding more wall behind it, he finds a tunnel. He probably thought he was going crazy, but he kept going, and the tunnel led to a room. The room led to more tunnels. The tunnels led to stairs going down, and further down, 18 floors underground, 280 feet below the surface. The man had stumbled into a hidden world, an entire ancient city carved directly into the volcanic rock beneath his home. Rooms everywhere, corridors stretching farther than torchlight could reach, and a silence so deep it felt like the earth itself was holding its breath. Wait, how did nobody find this for 2,000 years? People were literally living on top of it? Absolutely. Yes, and that's the wild part. The entrances were intentionally hidden, disguised as wells, storage pits, and random holes in the ground. There were over 600 secret entrances across the region. The whole point was that you'd never find it unless you already knew it was there. The people who built it were really good at keeping secrets. When archaeologists finally got in and mapped the place, they found kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms, wine cellars, oil presses, animal stables, churches, schools, and wells with fresh running water. Not a campsite, not a hole in the ground. A fully functioning city, built to keep people alive for months at a time. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's insane. And we're just getting started. Okay, so what on earth were these people so scared of that they literally moved underground? The short answer? Everything. The region now called Turkey was basically the most invaded piece of land in human history. Persians came through, Romans came through, Arab armies came through. The Byzantines fought there for centuries. Then the Mongols rolled in under Timur and absolutely wrecked everything in sight. Think about what it's like to be a regular family, farmer, kids, a few goats, and you look up on the horizon and see an army coming. You've got nowhere to run. The walls of your town aren't going to hold. But you've got something nobody attacking you knows about. You've got a door, and it leads underground. And once you're in, You seal the entrance behind you with a 1,000-pound rolling stone door that only opens from the inside. Good luck getting through that. Seriously, a 1,000-pound door? It's actually genius engineering. The stone was shaped like a wheel, perfectly circular, so it could roll along a carved groove in the floor. Even a couple of people could move it from the inside. But from the outside, pushing against it straight on? Completely impossible. It's basically the world's first security system. And it wasn't just the door. Each of the 18 floors could be completely sealed off from the others. So if an enemy somehow did get in on the top level, the people 2 floors down were completely safe. They could even cut off the water supply to the upper floors to stop attackers from poisoning it. These weren't scared, desperate people hiding in a hole. These were strategic, intelligent people who had thought through every single angle of a siege and built their solution into the rock itself. They went underground because underground was the one place their enemies couldn't follow them. Alright, so, how do you actually build something like this with zero modern technology? Here's the thing. The rock helped. Cappadocia sits on top of layers of volcanic ash that hardened over millions of years into something called tuff. It's soft enough to carve with basic hand tools, but strong enough to hold its own weight without caving in. Nature basically pre-made the perfect building material. If the rock was soft enough to carve, wouldn't it just collapse? How is a tunnel ceiling holding itself up? That's exactly what every engineer asks. And here's what's wild. None of the floors at Derinkuyu have ever collapsed. Not one. In thousands of years. The builders somehow understood structural load distribution well enough that their ceilings are still standing today. Modern engineers study this place specifically to figure out how they did it without any formal training in physics or architecture. Then there's the ventilation. You've got 20,000 people living 280 feet underground. They're breathing, cooking, keeping animals. Without fresh air, everyone dies within hours. So the builders carved thousands of ventilation shafts, some up to 100 feet deep, that pulled fresh air down from the surface and pushed stale air out. The shafts were also used to communicate between floors. People would shout messages through them like an ancient intercom system. And water? They dug wells that tapped directly into an underground river flowing beneath the city. Fresh water, naturally filtered through rock, flowing into the lowest floors, where it was safest from enemy tampering. No engineering degree, no machines, no blueprints, just human intelligence, patience, and thousands of hours of chipping away at rock, level by level, room by room, until they had built a city inside a mountain. And honestly, it makes you feel slightly bad about yourself for struggling to assemble flat-pack furniture. Okay, so where things get genuinely murky. Here's the honest answer. Nobody fully knows who built Derinkuyu first, and that should bother you way more than it does. Some archaeologists say the Hittites started carving it around 1500 BCE. That's 3,500 years ago. Others say the Phrygians built it around 700 BCE. Early Christians definitely used it and expanded it massively. The Byzantines lived in it for centuries. Mongol raids in the 1300s pushed people back underground. And as recently as the early 1900s, local Greek Christians were still hiding here from Ottoman persecution. This place wasn't just used once, it was used continuously, by generation after generation after generation, for potentially 3,000 years. Each wave of people adding to it, expanding it, adapting it. So when was it finally abandoned? And why didn't anyone record that it existed? The last time it was used was 1923, when the Greek Christian population of Turkey was expelled to Greece in a massive forced population exchange. They left, and the city was empty. Nobody new came to use it. Within a generation, the secret of where the entrances were had been largely forgotten. Not buried on purpose this time, just lost. Because the people who remembered were gone. That's the haunting part. It wasn't dramatically sealed. It wasn't deliberately hidden this time around. It just went quiet. The people who knew left, and the knowledge left with them. Until 1963, when a sledgehammer broke through a basement wall and woke it up again. Though answered might be generous. Because the deeper you dig into who built this place, the more questions replace the ones you started with. The one that genuinely doesn't have a clean answer yet, and might not for a long time. Derinkuyu is not alone. There are around 200 underground cities across Cappadocia. 200. Most of them only partially explored. Some barely touched at all. Derinkuyu itself is connected to another city called Kaymakli through 8 kilometers of underground tunnels, an ancient subterranean highway between 2 hidden worlds. Wait, you said less than half of Derinkuyu is open to the public. Nobody fully knows. Let me say that again. In 2015, they found a city bigger than Derinkuyu, completely by accident. How many more are there? Archaeologists genuinely don't know. The ground-penetrating radar surveys across Cappadocia keep finding new anomalies, new hollow spaces, new tunnel networks, beneath towns, beneath farms, beneath roads that people drive on every single day. This isn't even close to being over. We are still in the early chapters of figuring out what's under there. Disturbed with facts? So here's where we land. A man knocked down a wall in 1963, and behind it was a world that had been breathing quietly in the dark for over 2,000 years. We know a lot about Derinkuyu now. We know how it was built. We know why. We know who hid there and when they left. But there's one thing nobody has ever been able to explain. When archaeologists first entered the deepest floors, the ones furthest from the surface, the ones that hadn't seen light in centuries, they found something unexpected. The rooms were not stripped bare. Food storage vessels were still in place. Personal items were left behind. It looked less like a city that was carefully abandoned, and more like one where people left in a hurry or were taken. What happened on the last day that anyone lived down there? Did they make it out? Did something find them first? The tunnels don't say. The stone doors are still. And the deepest floors, the ones still sealed, still unexplored, still sitting in complete darkness 280 feet underground, they're not talking either. At least, not yet. History isn't dead, it's just buried. And next time, we dig up something that'll make today's mystery look like a warm-up. Subscribe and stay close, because the next echo from the past, you do not want to miss what it's saying.